Today I will be discussing the legalization of organ sales. 13 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant. This was provided to me from the Human Services and Health Resources Administration in 2025 in an article they posted. The lack of organs in comparison to the amount of organs we need is stark and is a huge issue that has been boiling behind the scenes for years. Every 8 minutes, another person is added to the organ transplant list, and this transplant list holds approximately 100,000 people at this moment. This is also from the Human Services and Health Resources Administration. I believe the only solution to this problem is to legalize organ sales. This will make a substantial impact. I've been researching every end of this discussion and debate in this class and another class and feel that I have enough information to have this opinion. There are 3 prominent issues that correlate with the organ crisis that are popping up today. The first immense issue that comes hand in hand with the organ shortage crisis is organ trafficking. Organ trafficking is often unconsensual and unsanitary and unprofessional due to its need to be off-grid for secrecy. Often organ traffickers will find ways to reach out to people through social media, through flyers, bulletin boards, and people that are financially desperate will reach out. Unfortunately for these people, a lot of the time organ traffickers will never pay them a dime, and these people will get their organs stolen without the correct aftercare or hospitalization or sanitation that they need. These information points are from Sarah Glazer. She is a prominent activist and research journalist around ethics, and she posted for a CQ Researcher report in 2022. Another prominent issue that is in this debate is dialysis and its cost to the government and us through our tax dollars. Dialysis is a method used to prolong the lives of those suffering from kidney disease. Although doctors often refer to dialysis as kidney replacement therapy, it is a placeholder at best only doing about 15% of the normal job that a kidney does. These are from Henry Astier, and he wrote a paper on this in 2022 for the BBC News, interviewing and researching with patients going through dialysis themselves. Not only this, but it is extremely expensive. Sally Satel and Alan D. Viard are 2 resident scholars at the American Enterprise Institute, and they wrote a paper in 2017 where they briefly go over the expenses and costs of dialysis, predicting perhaps billions a year being spent on it currently. The final thing that's important is that no other solutions implemented have made enough of an impact on the organ crisis. In 2004, President Bush signed an Organ Donation and Recovery Act, which provided reimbursement of travel and expenses for living organ donors. This is from Crane Laura. It's one of the methods she talks about in an article by that is arguing for organ sales. Her and her colleague are students at the UCCS College of Business and wrote this in 2024. This was barely effective and not enough to motivate donation. The second method that the US considered was a method that was implemented in France. This method was to improve the discard rate. About 1/5 of the kidneys provided are deemed unhealthy and thrown away. And these facts are also from Henry Astier in 2022. This would involve the standard for kidneys and accepting them being adjusted, and we'd be able to save them from diabetics in the older generation. If we had chosen to follow this method, it would have saved us perhaps 17,000 kidneys a year, but it was never implemented. And obviously, these methods are not helping the crisis that we are in today. This is why I believe organ legalization of sales should be a solution. There are 3 ways that it would heavily impact the crisis for the better. It would solve the organ crisis by incentivizing people to donate. It would provide relief to people in dire need of money without organ trafficking. And then it would finally save the government and us an extreme amount of money. Sally Satel and Alan D. Viard, those 2 resident scholars I mentioned before, proposed in 2017 that instead of just outright giving somebody money for an organ, we should provide them with a $50,000 tax credit. The profit margin would be set, unchanging, and regulated through the government. And this would in turn prevent the incentive or idea that it's a fast way to make money while getting people to still donate. Sarah Glazer wrote an extremely thorough article in 2022 regarding organ sales, communicating with multiple economists that all consistently stated there are calculations to verify that the legalization of organ sales would be impactful. With inflation, a payment of $15,000 to $25,000 would be enough today to end the kidney shortage in the United States. And this is from Glaser in 2022. Iran has also implemented legalizing organ sales themselves, and they have had startling success, claiming that they have eliminated their wait list entirely. The second thing is by legalizing organ sales, we would be decreasing the amount of unsafe and unsanitary conditions that come along with organ trafficking. All procedures would be done in a safe way. Having a way to safely donate and receive money could actually help a lot of these people that need to start a new life and help save a life at the same time. There are many ways to make large amounts of money that impoverished people can turn to, like prostitution, drug sales, sketchy loans. At least this method is safer. It would be legal and theoretically, and it would not risk their lives farther than any of the other things that people are forced to do to stay alive in this extremely expensive world. Then the final thing proposed by Sally and Alan D. Viard suggested in 2017 is that if the legalization of organ sales occurred, it would save the government perhaps $10 billion a year and us through our tax money. Dialysis is common, and over 2 million people throughout the world are on dialysis or and waiting for a transplant. And this is from the Professional magazine. Today I've discussed the many ways that the organ crisis is such a relevant and substantial issue, and what comes along with it. And then turned and showed you all the ways that legalizing organ sales would be immensely effective. I believe it's absolutely necessary for the government to legalize organ sales, and it may be the only way out of the mess that we are stuck in. Now let me ask you again, would you sell an organ, and do you think it should be allowed?